So a couple things that I'm going to take away from today's joint practice. Jaden Daniels, unstoppable. Drake Maye, unstoppable. The Washington Commanders secondary may be fool's gold. And last but certainly not least, the Washington Commanders must get a deal done with Terry McLaurin. Let's talk about it.
The way that we live is not for everybody.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
How do you think the rest of Jaden Daniels' career is going to go? If we're, 6, 7 games into Jaden Daniels' career, and he's already milking injuries?
Stop saying my name, you dick riding bastard. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she cry for him, and shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's love again now. She's confident.
Y'all, so we're going to do the typical fan thing, and that's overreact about joint practice. Now, why are we overreacting? That's because football is damn back, and this is the first thing that we get to see of our 2025 Commanders go against a team that is not there. So we're going to talk a little bit about the joint practice and also read an article from Zach Selsley, but I first want to start by talking about some of the negatives from today's practices. We'll get into the positives a little bit later, but one main negative, and this was what I was afraid of the most, it was the secondary was a little skirmish today. Now, of course, again, I want to reiterate, we are overreacting because we're talking about practice, not a game, but practice, in words of Allen Iverson. So, of course, take it with a grain of salt, but it is slightly discouraging hearing that Pop Douglas and the rest of the group is getting off on Marshon Lattimore and Mikey Samuelson. I think the biggest thing for me that was a little bit disappointing, more so than anything else about that, was Mikey Samuelson, because Marshon Lattimore had some plays where it was just a great ball by Drake Maye. Fantastic coverage by Marshon Lattimore, and he got physical, kind of got into a scrimmage. But, that's what Marshon does. He's a physical corner. So you can expect that. But I think the biggest disappointment from me was how they said Mikey Samuelson was struggling today in the slot, and that was my biggest fear. Remember last year or in this past offseason, I told you, I said, bro, I'm fine with Mikey Samuelson staying on the outside. I get it. He's small. He's undersized. But so was Darrelle Revis. So was a lot of other outside corners. And they still were able to get it done. Brent Grimes, right? And Mikey, to me, is a small boundary corner. Slot was what he was good at in college, but at this level, at this game, he's fantastic on the outside. And again, that's not to overreact to say he cannot play slot, but he struggled early on last year in the slot. When he had to go play boundary because Emmanuel Forbes was trash and Michael Davis was trash and they had to put Noah Igbenogany in the slot, that's when you've seen a drastic increase to his game. And when we were in the draft process, I love that we drafted Trey Amos, and we'll talk about him today because he was actually one of the lone positives from the cornerback room today. But before we drafted Trey Amos, that's why I wanted to go running back in the first round, or Mario Hampton if he was there, or Travion Anderson, or I wanted to go, some other positions, the offensive line even, right? But I felt like the cornerback room was fine. And this is slightly discouraging from Frozone. Hearing the fact that he was, tearing it up in camp, and this secondary as a whole was killing it in camp, it kind of puts a bittersweet taste in Commanders fans' mouth. Pause, of course, because it sucks on one hand because they're getting destroyed by guys like Pop Douglas, and Stephon Diggs was out there as well, and some other guys. But it also kind of just goes to show you that Drake Maye is damn good. And in my opinion, Drake Maye is the second best quarterback in this draft class, right behind Jaden Daniels, right above Bo Nix and Caleb Williams and Michael Penix. But it also goes to show you that Washington needs Terry McLaurin. You know what I mean? Because not only did our cornerback room kind of struggle against their offense, but we were lacking playmakers outside of Zach Ertz today, and that was very apparent as Chris Moore had a pass where Jaden Daniels threaded the needle, and Terry McLaurin would have caught that pass. I'm just going to say that. He would have caught that pass, and that's where a lot of fans were hesitant about this offseason thus far, this training camp thus far, is that Jaden Daniels is not running with his guy. He's running with Chris Moore and Luke McCaffrey and Ja'Cory Brooks, right? Like, he's running with these kind of receivers. So when you hear that the defense is killing it, it's like you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Now, what I will say, and this isn't to discredit, the Patriots wide receiver room. I think Mac Hollins is in that group as well. It's not to discredit their room, but their room isn't like this crazy room. It's Jalen Polk as well, right? Like, their room isn't like outstandingly talented. It's not trash, but it's not outstandingly talented. I would say it's slightly better than ours without Terry McLaurin. So to see us getting killed by their room pretty much, it's slightly discouraging. Again, it's preseason. It's training camp. We don't want to put too much emphasis on it, but it's definitely, you would have loved to hear better things coming from the secondary. Now, moving to a positive, Jaden Daniels was magnificent today. And what is left to be said about that? It's nothing surprising about that. This dude is outstanding in 11v11s. He does what he does, and that's why he is rated as high as he is in terms of the league. That's why he's looked at as one of the best quarterbacks in the league already, and one of the faces of the league, because he does what he does on a daily basis. And today, very emphasized workload from both Washington and Boston, beat reporters, Patriots beat reporters, is that him and Zach Ertz, they were connecting very, very well and consistent today. And I think that's both a positive thing, because the connection there continues to brew and continues to be excellent. But also the negative, it goes to show you again, as we were mentioning, they need Terry McLaurin. They need to get a deal done with him, because without him, this wide receiver room is trash. We're back. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Juan Gotti Command Extra post-game show is back for yet another season. Following each and every Washington Commanders game, call into the number 240-804-7327 to have your voice heard on the show. Win, lose, or draw, happy, upset, or mad, make sure you call into that number, because I want to hear from you after every single game. And without Noah Brown, this wide receiver room is trash. Like, we were missing Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown today. So again, it was Chris Moore, it was Luke McCaffrey, it was Jalen Lane, it was the rest of this Ja'Cory Brooks, it was the rest of this crew, KJ Osborne, and it wasn't cute, it wasn't pretty. But Jaden Daniels still was able to do his thing and get some things done. We also got to talk about the offensive line as well, as this is very encouraging. TUNSIL, he destroyed a dude into the bleachers and basically almost started a fight. And that's not a surprise, right? That's what Laramie does. And again, that's why I've been saying, and a lot of other fans been saying, like, this is the best left tackle we've had since Trent Williams. He kind of brings that Trent Williams balance and swagger to this team. And also the young fella, Josh Conley Jr., feeding off that energy. Remember, a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some media members were kind of already down on Josh Conley Jr. already. But to see him go against another jersey and to be able to hold his own today and show flashes and be stellar, that's very encouraging for the young fella. And we know they want him to be their starter. They do. They had Andrew Wiley penciled in as the starter for the unofficial depth chart for week 1. But I'm more than certain that this is who they would love to have out there starting at right tackle, opposed to Andrew Wiley. So that was encouraging as well. I will say, on the defensive side of the ball, badly we needed to end the day with an interception, in which we did, with Frozone getting the interception off a tip pass by Bobby Wagner. Bobby was like, hey man, this defense getting torched. I finally got to make a play. I got to make a play, because I think this quarterback room with the Patriots, Josh Dobbs, well, I think he only missed like 3 passes on this defense. And Drake May, he went like, I think it was 13 for 15 for Josh Dobbs, like 9 for 12 or 10 for 13 for Drake May. So again, they were carving us up early on, and that's not a surprise for Drake May. I think he is very, very good. I think he'll be really good in this league. But let's get into actually the article from Zach Selby today, as we're gonna look at and talk about his article that he put out as he covered today's joint practice. Wynn started out his press conference talking to the media in terms of players that didn't make the trip. Sam Cosmi, Terry McLaurin, both on the physically unable to perform list. And obviously you have guys like Brandon Coleman, Noah Brown, Marcus Mariota, Javonte James-Baptiste, and Joe McGee. Although those players are dealing with minor injuries, and Joe McGee not making this trip is concerning for me. Again, I know it's minor, but he needs to be out there. Same with Javonte James-Baptiste. I'm hoping that it's not nothing too serious and he's good to go, because he's somebody that I think has potential to be damn good. But I can't keep speaking for you if you're not out there, right? So hopefully he's fine. But getting to the on-field work, it was an up and down day for both sides of the ball, but there were certain aspects of the Commanders' offense that truly shined. The best example of that was the connection between Daniels and tight end Zach Ertz. Daniels targeted Zach Ertz in the middle of the field several times, and most of those targets resulted in completions. And again, that is a connection that we know has been one of Jaden Daniels' favorite targets. We know how much Zach Ertz loves Jaden Daniels. He talks about it all the time, how he wish he could play with him for his whole career. And I didn't expect much out of Zach Ertz this year in terms of production-wise, but it wouldn't surprise me if he easily replicated what he did last year. Continuing on, though, it says running back Brian Robinson was fired up during practice, often seen clapping in the huddle to hype up teammates. Robinson showed good vision and quickness on outside runs as he wore through the defenders for 2 big gains. And that's something that I did here today, that the Patriots were struggling containing the outside runs. And I don't know if that's just the lack of their ability to contain edge runs, or if that's Brian Robinson's new addition. Maybe he's able to hit the outside and turn on the Jets this year. And again, he's fighting for a contract this year, so it wouldn't surprise me if we've seen the best year out of Brian Robinson that he's had for the first time in a while. He's healthy. He's not dealing with off the field issues. He has an offensive line that's much improved. So maybe Brian Robinson will prove a lot of us wrong this year and actually have a solid year. But one thing that you cannot deny about Brian Robinson, and I go back to last year, I said this about him, especially with that Week 6 game versus the Ravens, that he was the guy that brought that physical edge. And when you play on a team like Baltimore, you needed that physical edge. And when he was out, he didn't play in Week 6. That's where I feel like we were really at a disadvantage, because he was one of the only guys that was a physical specimen. And today he kind of showed that leadership role and that hype role, and I love to hear it. Continuing on, though, it says the entire Washington offensive line did well against the Patriots pass rush, but left tackle Laremy Tunsil stood out the most. He pushed the Patriots defensive lineman all the way to the sideline on a 1-1 play, which prompted some shoving, pushing after the play. He also was very stellar in the pass protection as well, as he pushed Keon White into the ground with a little effort during one drill. So again, Laremy Tunsil is a dog. He's one of the best left tackles in the game for a reason. So that's not a surprise at all whatsoever. And we finally have a true left tackle that's able to protect our quarterback again since Trent Williams. So it's encouraging to hear that he's doing well in practice, but I don't expect anything different. As continuing on, it says, on the other hand, where the Commanders' defense was getting reps against the Patriots' offense, it appeared that the unit still had some work to do before being ready for Week 1. Although it was worth pointing out that it could have been difficult to evaluate a unit when it doesn't have its full game plan for an opposing offense, still, there were a few standout moments during 11-on-11. Trey Amos didn't have a highlight pass breakup or interception, but he did disrupt the timing against receivers like Stephon Diggs. Colin Vickers also had a nice pass breakup in the end zone, which drew some praise from his coaches. So let's actually start backwards. Colin Vickers is a name, again, that I continue to bang home and continue to express and to tell you how talented I think this dude is. As an undrafted free agent, I'm pulling for him to make this roster. He's going to have a big preseason, though, if he wants to make this roster. So he's going to be interesting to see him play. Trey Amos, though, being able to be step for step and disrupt the timing with Stephon Diggs is insane. Again, this is Stephon Diggs we're talking about here. So that's one player that seems to translate well. And we know that, though. Trey Amos has been a name that we've hyped up all summer long, and he's been stellar all training camp long. So him being able to translate it to actual opponents is no difference. It's nothing that I didn't expect. So shout out to Trey Amos for that. Continuing on, though, it says 2 of Commanders' depth pieces on the defense showed techniques as well. Both linebackers came. Medrano and Percy Butler had a knock for sticking with their matchups and coverage, closing the gaps when they made catches and breaking down to make tackles. Medrano had looked particularly impressive over the past few practices, and he looked like he is starting to get more comfortable in this game. So that's interesting and that's intriguing because I felt like Medrano has all the talent in the world, but I did feel like maybe this year would be a developmental year for him and he'll be more of a special teams guy. But if he's able to continue to show signs of improving, maybe he gets some opportunity out there at the linebacker position, especially with Jordan McGee being down. We'll see. And same with Percy Butler. Like we know how good he is as a special teams guy, but for years now he hasn't really been able to translate that over to the safety position. So maybe this is the year for Percy to do just that. But continuing on though, it says both sides of the ball ended the day on a good note during situational drills. The starting defense managed to keep Drake May out of the end zone as Mike Sainristil caught an interception in the end zone on a tip pass. Washington's starting offense was also held without a touchdown, but the second group hit Pater on a pass from Josh Johnson to Jacoby Jones. So this defense again had a tough day in the secondary, but again, I subscribe to the theory of it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Mike Sainristil having a tough day today was able to finish strong with the interception tipped by Bobby Wagner. And again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not down on Frozone. I'm not down on this defense. It's typical overreaction for the first practice. We'll see how he looks in the regular season, as I still think Mikey Sainristil is one of the better players that we have on this team. Although I do think he's a better boundary corner than he is slap. Continuing on though, says here are some few moments that stood out during Wednesday's joint practice. Michael Gallup had a nice catch during 11-on-11 drills and lowered his shoulder for a loud hit on Patriots defensive back Ja'Cory Brooks. Ja'Cory Brooks had one of the best catches of the day for the Commanders as he made a one-handed grab near the back of the end zone. Daniels was sharp for most of the day, but perhaps his best throw came when he threaded the ball between two Patriots players to Luke McCaffrey. So look at our wide receiver group. It's good to see them finishing the day off strong as well. Michael Gallup again is a name that I feel like has been quiet, but apparently he's been having a stellar camp as he continues to have another strong day, and I'm really pulling for him to make this roster. I think he'll be the last receiver to make this roster, and he'll be very, very contributed to this team this year in terms of maybe 4 or 500 receiving yards. Ja'Cory Brooks had a nice catch. That's good, and obviously Jaden Daniels doing his thing. That's no surprise. But this is cool. I love to see that we're ramping up the period and the action is going down. And it went down, I should say, at Washington Commanders and Patriots joint practice. Jason Tatum was out there today, C5, and it was just an overall good day. So I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for this preseason game, and I'm excited to see you all tonight as the Burgundy Breakdown will be going live at 9:30 tonight. So make sure you guys click that link in the description and subscribe to the Burgundy Breakdown, as we'll be live over there for this to be broken down in much more detail. But as always, me boy Juan Gotti. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel. On the road to 11,000 subscribers, so we really appreciate it if you can reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. You have a blessed one. Stay safe. Easy out there. Peace.
Never gave a ballin' like I'm Deshaun, throw the bomb, G. That's IG, my jersey never seen a lawn.